Hello, lovely loves. I want to go ahead and record. I'm kind of reverting right now because I have a new camera, but I'm using my laptop, and it's mostly because it's just easier to do it this way. A part of me is like, oh, you should set it up and all that, but that's work, and I would just do a voiceover, but I may end up cutting myself out of this one anyway, just because it's easier. Let me go ahead and start it. So today I wanted to talk about depression. And depression is severe isolation. It's the exact opposite of unity. And truthfully, we're in a total state of unity, because in truth, separation could never truthfully occur. In a state of depression, we've almost entirely blocked all truth from our mind. Depression is a most extreme case of total isolation. The isolation creates a feeling of total hopelessness. It's a state where escape by any means is usually the next best feeling. And that's why it leads to many addictions, or all addictions, I should say. This is why so many in this state commit suicide. You feel totally alone and unwanted, totally unworthy and misunderstood, just completely useless. Depression arises when a person senses they are being deprived of something that they want, and they believe that they need this and they cannot have it, and that it's out of their reach. If your thought patterns allow you to place the blame for this outside of yourself, the next best feeling thing may be to just be angry toward the person that you blame. And then maybe you'll further manipulate them, control them, or act out violence toward them. Depression in itself can never really last because it does not even really exist. It's a false state. So moods of depression usually come and go, and they flow through us like waves of clouds, or like in the wind. And that's why we have bouts of it over time, or many people do at least. If a person chooses to exist for long enough in the state of depression, it will usually subside. Now, however much it subsides depends on the person, because we have the ability to choose how much pain we're in and how much pain we will endure. So a person that lives primarily in severe depression, they will eventually possibly commit suicide unless they have some other way of reaching for a better feeling. Or maybe even if they just face the truth, which is really the best option. There is no life in total isolation. Oftentimes, drugs or other addictions is enough to break up the pinch of isolation that the depressed have placed around their hearts. A highly addicted person is extremely depressed, and they must escape this feeling as often as possible to the next high, or even any other distraction that they can come up with. It then can also become a pattern that only really exists because we have such a severe resistance to it. And this is often the case with someone who is addicted to overeating or to cigarettes. They're choosing to punish themselves by having this resistance and saying it's bad for them, but then continuing to do it as a way to kind of punish themselves and make themselves feel more unworthy. Many times, the unconscious and conscious forms of depression can intermingle in one's mind. These people go through states of drug use or other highly addictive behavior with bouts of physical violence and emotional manipulation and control around those around them. Wait, I don't know what I just said. The energy around them varies from this is most common because the variety it provides allows the person to feel as though there are bouts of happiness or perceived peace, so that the mixed state is most likely to continue to loop within your life. So by happiness, what I mean is there are bouts of things that seem to go their way when they're in this state. Maybe they're successfully able to manipulate everything around them. Maybe they have a lot of really good highs. Of course, none of this is true peace and joy, but all of it is a way to stay busy and not face what's underneath. So, what is underneath? What is underneath? So underneath it all, once you trace it to the very root, is a deep sense of separation. It's a sense of otherness or lone alienation, isolation, like no one cares in the way that you require, and there is something that must be done that you cannot do to warrant acceptance or even self-perception of what you really are. There's something missing there. This leads to what is at the bottom of the barrel for most, and it's a feeling of severe unworthiness. Many people who suffer from depression have buried this sense of unworthiness so deep that they don't even recognize its existence. It's a guilt that's so deep and a hatred that is so old that when we feel like we're related to this self, this existence, it's so piercing that I couldn't even place words on it. I have felt it, I've stared at it, and I've cried and cried because I know that there's a part of me that still chooses to identify with it, even if only a little bit and unconsciously. The belief in separation is so real in our minds that unworthiness must follow. An unworthy and alone person is depressed. We feel ashamed and unworthy because deep down we know that we chose to separate. This causes the fear of God. We must fear someone we feel we have wronged. We're sinful, right? We did something bad, so we must fear who we have done something bad to. We usurped him, we tricked him, and now we're afraid. And we're unworthy because we chose to leave a love so great that it is what sparks the life in all of us. And now we're damned. Now we deserve to be raped, we deserve to be tortured and manipulated and the hatred and ultimately death. And maybe even further hell. I feel like I might be taking this too deep. So as an attempt to lighten things up a bit, I'm going to play a Disney movie. No, I'm going to play this scene from Finding Dory that I feel like kind of speaks on this subject in a way that I'm not able to fully portray. So I'm not going to lie, I cried when I first saw this because this is us. This is all of us once we examine our relationship with our Creator. There is part of us that feels we are unwanted, and for a good reason. We feel like we forgot, and we forgot and we left, and so maybe we're just not wanted back. I face this part of myself, and I want to report to you that what we're so afraid of that we've done, it's not real. The separation from God, all of it's not real. And just like little Dory is worrying that her parents may not want her for leaving them and for forgetting, her parents actually left a path home and are waiting for her to return. They won't leave until she returns. And this is how our relationship is with God. Even though we can't even seriously, truthfully separate from God, God is always here. And we just have to come back and remember. And since we believe this separation is possible, it does feel like it is possible. It does feel real to us. We believe it is real. But trust me, if you come to God, even if a little bit, you just open your heart a little bit towards love, you will be showered with it. So much more that I wouldn't be able to put words on it. And even that is more than what we really are. It's still just a fraction of the reality of truth, of how much love there really is. We are not alone. We are loved. We are beloved. We just need to remember, from my heart to yours, thank you.